to get started. Hi, guys. This is Doug, and you're listening to What's the Hazard? Once again, it is Friday, December 1st. Wow.
Made it.
We had it in November. I'm almost certain of it. I know I went to Thanksgiving, but, man, the time is flying.
Yeah, it is.
Is it flying for you, too?
Yeah.
Yeah, we both have 4 kids.
Oh, my God.
Sometimes
You really
the
have no sense of time,
the
actually.
days go fast, and then sometimes the months go fast, but then sometimes it feels really slow.
Yeah. The years are slow,
depends
the
on the
days
day.
are fast.
You will reach a point, my boys were both grown and gone, and you will reach a point where it just goes fast.
Everything.
It just goes so fast for me. I don't know if time is linear. I'm not a physicist. I didn't do well in physics, but it's not. It seems to be almost like a normal distribution, like a curve, and I am way past the peak of the curve, and it is just
Barely
screaming.
forward.
It's accelerating.
Yeah.
I mean, time is going faster. So
One of those things you want to hold on to as much as possible.
it's very cliche, man.
Yeah.
But yes,
Yeah. It is
enjoy
cliche,
every
but
moment.
My oldest son will be going into high school next year, and I can't fathom.
Fathom that.
I can't believe it.
It's amazing.
It is, but
Well, thanks for being here, guys. My
Yeah.
guest this morning, Unger
yep,
Jacob Whitney.
Yes, sir.
They're the owners of Safety Compliance LLC.
yep,
A safety and health compliance outfit, consulting.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You guys do what we do. We've been working together now for a few years. It's been a great collaboration, in my opinion. My clients love you guys. So thank you for all you're doing for me and my guys. And I know you have all of your own clients and you do your own thing, but it's kind of this, we've kind of got this cooperative worked out within the community.
Yeah, it's
Got
been
different
working
guys
well.
working for you that are working. I mean, it's just really turned out to be, I personally think this is the way it should be going forward, right? Just a group of safety vigilantes that
Yeah.
provide different services and different specialties, and we're just serving the needs of our clients, man. It's exceptional. So thanks for that.
It's been great to get to know some of your guys too, just from
Yeah, man.
expertise. I mean, we're not professionals and at everything. And so
No,
it's been
no.
great to just even pick their brains and learn from them too.
I'm the same, man. I know what my wheelhouse is. I've been doing this long enough to know what I'm not good at, and you guys are. And that's a great benefit to me. And I think eventually when somebody who's running this show that has a little bit more sense than me, can kind of coordinate this. That might be you, because you're the one with the business background. I think it'll be really nice. People can just say, "Hey, here's what I need." It's one-stop shopping. We we get you what you need.
Yeah.
I've got a client right now that is developing a transloading railroad operation. Wow. I don't know anything about that. Don't stand on the tracks. That's what I was
right.
taught.
Avoid the train.
Yeah, when you're listening on the rail, that's bad. So, and I've got a buddy down in, he lives down kind of around Lincoln,
Yep.
who has expertise in that, and he's working with them right now. I stay involved in the communication, and I'm just so pleased to see, the communication, the questions he's asking, the package they're putting together. It's just
Yeah.
it's awesome, man.
Yeah, and I think that's a testament to you, Doug, which, you really brought a lot of this together, and a lot of the communication and working together as partners, and it doesn't have to be, you and us, and we're all isolated, and I think you've really done a great job bringing together the safety community, which, to your point, why wouldn't we want to help each
Why
other?
wouldn't we do that?
Why it's beneficial for everybody, and we've experienced that. I know we have. We've been able to actually experience a benefit to be able to offer a more wide range of
Right.
services to our customers.
I have too.
Bring in expert. Right? Share some of the.
Yeah, you guys do a lot of stuff that I am incapable of doing, which is a tremendous benefit. So,
Yeah.
And it's great when it's a local resource too.
I totally agree,
versus
man.
like, okay, this outfit's out of California.
yeah,
or,
I don't
come
want
on
to bring
in
a
it.
bunch of strangers in
Yeah.
here, man.
Local
Truthfully.
resource.
And I don't want to tell anybody no. That's the other part of
I
this. Somebody contacts you, they finally find you, and you say, "I can't do that," or "I don't do that."
I know.
That door is closed.
Yep.
Yeah.
They don't come back. And so I say, "Hey, I know a guy that can do that." And, that has really changed my approach. So I appreciate your saying that. But, most of it is just realizing that I'm not good at everything and knowing what I enjoy doing.
Yep.
Right? There are certain things that I like to do and certain things that I don't. And hopefully we can find a group of people that we can all work with and get along with that can do that. So anyway, I would like to start at the beginning. I like to hear the origin story. We were just chatting before we even started recording about your history, which is very interesting.
Yep.
I know your father, and he was kind of in the beginning of the business side of this. But if you wouldn't mind, just introduce yourselves a little bit and talk about how Safety Compliance came to be.
Absolutely, yeah. So Safety Compliance started about 25 years ago. My father, Rory Whitney, started, basically just going up to businesses, dropping off a card. He got trained with some safety certifications from a guy that was in Cedar Rapids, and basically he's trying to feed his family, and went out and tried to drum up some business. Kind of grew it to be able to provide for my family.
You look well fed.
Yeah, well fed. The wife's keeping me.
Right.
The wife's keeping me well fed.
Maybe that's more of a testament to her.
But, yeah, just growing up, we had 5 sisters and a brother, so my dad had to work quite a bit.
Shit, yeah.
And built a decent sized business. But then, as he was getting older, he was thinking, "Hey, we got to think of a succession plan." And so, started off with Shane and I.
And so, how did you guys come to meet, as it were?
So 2003, I moved into the dorms at UNO, and my roommate was his cousin. I met his sister. I married his sister. So Jake and I are brother-in-law, right? So, yeah. Whether he liked me or not, I got his sister.
That was a done deal.
Yeah, and so then.
So you're family.
So we're family.
I love that.
Yep. And then Rory was looking kind of succession plan, and he approached Jacob and I, and both with some business background. And I grew up small town Nebraska, and my dad did a lot of contracting. And so I'm one of 3 boys and 3 stepbrothers. And so he just figured he could put us on a roof. And so we just shingled houses all framed and did a bunch of construction stuff, whatever you get your hands on in a small town, right?
Right.
I didn't realize until I got to college that there was a thing as a fall protection harness, like
A ladder setup.
I mean,
right.
We used what does OSHA call them? Speed bumps. We used the toe boards, right?
Yeah.
And so just being introduced to that world from both sides of doing a lot of things wrong and understanding then there's actually a better, safer way to do it. So construction background. Rory asked us, hey, if we'd want to be involved here, and we did. We got involved, and it was kind of a part-time, trying to figure it out.
Right.
We've gone through and got accredited, just like anybody else, an ASP. So, and we're members of the Great Plains ASSP, the Board of Certified Safety Professionals. So we've done all the training and experience, and we've continued to grow it, and so we're rolling with it, and this is what we do.
Yeah, but man, from a certification standpoint, I realize that there is a certain interest that people have in certifications. I had my certifications for a while.
Yeah.
Man, I just got tired of paying the dues. I'll be honest with you. You know?
It's I got my master's degree in business, and only reason why I got it is because most jobs on the application said you had to check that box to, and so I went through that process.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like that's the same way with some of the accreditations, when I've seen some of the most incredible safety guys not have some of the accreditations that people look for.
That's not to discredit that. Look, I'm not saying, if you
it's a great resource. It's been a great opportunity, but it's not the catch-all, right? There's great safety professionals out there without an ASP, without a CSP.
No doubt. Well, I think
tremendous
your experience and background and that exposure has a huge. I mean, I see a lot of new people coming into the profession, and maybe they have a degree, or in safety perhaps, or maybe they have some other education in the field, but they don't have that experience. I would take experience over the education. And again, I'm not minimizing those things, but the way I see it applied, experience always trumps.
And we didn't even get accredited until many years into doing this. I mean, we've been doing this for about 10 years now, and it's like, does it open a few doors? Sure.
Probably.
But it was, getting that, like you said, that experience, being able to walk in, talk to somebody, understand the needs that a company might need, pays off a lot more than just having some letters behind it.
And just being able to communicate.
Yeah.
I mean, both of you guys are easy to talk to. You communicate well. I always struggle. I had people that worked for me at OSHA that couldn't write, couldn't complete a sentence. They couldn't, maybe that is intended to be a little bit, but disheartening. I was a little, but being able to communicate. So I have a client. I was speaking with one of the plant manager, and we were talking about how important it is for that safety person to be able to communicate with, employees, subcontractors, management. I mean, that's a skill that you can't, that's a hard thing to teach somebody.
Yeah.
Either you do that or you don't. And that's something that you guys my clients have always been very complimentary of you guys. They like when you come into the plant. Because of that, I think there's a certain pragmatism, I mean, we've got this book full of stuff that we're supposed to follow to the extent that we can reasonably. And if it's not in the book, I mean, then we got to figure out a way. We got to get the product out the door. I think we need to come to terms with that.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Safety first sounds nice, but we got to get the product out the door, and let's figure out a way to do that as safely as possible. And you're not going to get that by just referring to the subparagraph in the book.
Striking
you lose
that
people
balance.
real quick.
You lose people real quick. Yeah, they are not on board. So I do appreciate that. So how was the working relationship
Between Shane and I?
between the two of you?
It's funny because people, when they hear, they're like, "Oh man, family and business don't mix," and I'm like, "Man, I think we've
actually gone
debunked
really-
that here, right?"
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's been incredible because we can really utilize each other's time and resources and schedule, and even the context that we've had to be able to bring in people. And sometimes I'll reach out to Jake and be like, "Hey, here's what I got going on." I mean, that happened with our 30-hour course that we got going on down in Lincoln this next month, right? We're doing a whole
mention that.
shutdown.
Give the details of that so everybody's aware that because these 30-hour classes, a 30-hour construction outreach course, and you're timing it perfectly, doing it in January. I did one in July one time. I got to be honest with you, there was nobody
Did
there.
anyone show up?
Nobody. And why would they?
Tough time to shut down for a construction
Yeah, that's
site.
that was a big ask. So you've got one coming up
Yeah.
at 8th through 11th?
Yeah,
January
January 8th through 11th, and that's going to be down in Lincoln, and we do a whole shutdown week, and so OSHA 30 is going to be part of that. We got crane and rigging and hand signal, and we got first aid, we got equipment training. I mean, we're
doing it all.
a lot, but we got to bring in people, right? So Jake and I are just two of the trainers that we utilize to split up these courses, because some people are doing the 30-hour, they're not going to do some of the other courses. But we're doing a whole shutdown week, and that's to the point we're using other people that we know and we trust, that we've worked with, to be able to put on a course that people genuinely leave saying, yeah, that was worthwhile.
Worth
I
my
learned
time.
something. I could talk to the trainer. We could converse, right? We could actually ask questions like, hey, we see this in the field. What do we do? So, yeah, that's going to be 8th through the 11th. So if anybody is interested, they can reach out to Jacob or I.
How would they get a hold of you?
They could go and just email us at shaneunger@gmail or
jacob.whitney1@gmail.com.
The numeral 1.
Yep, numeral 1.
Whitney,
Yep.
number 1
Really
at
official.
Gmail. Shane Unger or just Shane Unger?
Shane Unger. I got in early.
At Gmail. Excellent, man. I hope everybody takes advantage of this, truthfully, because they are hard to schedule.
Yeah.
They are oftentimes difficult to get arranged. You go to the counselor or something, it's never when you want it. They just fix their schedule. And
you got to.
Again, I'm not here to bash anybody, but that's difficult.
Yep.
This is not, and I love the fact that you're adding all those other things into it: the first aid, the equipment, all of the rigging, signaling, all of that stuff.
Yep.
This is I know the money is important, but it's not about the money; it's about the time. To take your people and commit that amount of time is a big deal.
It's a big deal.
The money isn't.
Yep.
It's almost like an afterthought.
It's
And so
interesting
this
because
is
the
real
companies
good.
that do it, the companies that really invest in it, I think they do ultimately see a return,
Of course.
and then they're more likely to do it again. Sometimes people are kind of apprehensive because they see the dollar sign and they're like, well, it's just money out the door, and I don't, right? There's no production happening. There's no product being made, and they miss the bigger picture. And that's to your point, Doug. It's really not about the money, but you got one injury, right?
All of that.
All that could be gone.
Yeah.
And so the companies that see that and invest in that, they see results. Their employees feel trained. They feel, right, that they are given the knowledge to work safely, hopefully less recordable injuries, less work comp, your mod ratings, all that. We all know all that stuff. But it does really matter. I had a guy call me 3 weeks ago. out of Wisconsin, $125,000 fine. $125,000
From Wisconsin OSHA?
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah.
And he's like, man, I paid them twice. You know, now this is my third one. He just ignored everything. Mm-hmm. And right, it costs you ultimately if you're going to just ignore safety.
It can be brutal, man.
It can be brutal.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Is it a roofer type operation or something?
Yeah.
And they're just like the roofing industry as a whole. I mean, if you work in any metropolitan area, you are just sitting ducks. I mean, it's just, drive by, see somebody on a roof, stop, 50,000 in fines and move on. It takes you 30 minutes as a compliance officer. It's not even a challenge, No. So I really feel for those folks. It's very difficult, and they're subjected to scrutiny that most companies will never get, and particularly if you live out in the middle of nowhere, if you're out in a rural setting, like you were talking about in your chat, you'll never see an OSHA person out there. You'll never see one. Yep. But at least in our communities, if you live and work in Omaha or Lincoln, you have a high likelihood of seeing an enforcement person.
I was leaving the gym. It was Black Friday. I live out northwest Omaha, and they had a warning line system, set up on this whatever Dino storage, and just warning line is a story down, and just like I took a picture, and I'm like, I wonder who this contractor is. I'm gonna swing in and drop off a card, but yeah, easy to kind of rustle up some business sometimes when you're driving around too, just like OSHA.
Pretty easy to see.
And if you're out just ahead of the OSHA guy, you can save these guys a lot of heartache, man. Yeah,
we communicate that too, because some of the companies we work with, really, really reputable companies here in town, and some of the workers particularly can stand up on a roof and right, they can look around and see, well, why aren't they wearing it? Mm-hmm. And it's one of the things that I tell them is being a reputable company, whether you like it or not, probably has more stringent. Everyone should. I mean, we all have the same requirements, but if somebody can close the door and be some other name tomorrow, right? But a reputable company who's established in the community, right?
You're not doing that. No, you're not going underground. You're not changing your name.
They cannot do that. And so they feel like they have to play by different rules. But I would just say that for the long term, again, the long term trajectory of the business, right? Playing by those rules and being safe is what's going to keep you in business. I hope keep you in business for the long term.
That's great advice, and that is true. There are those companies, established companies, that don't have the latitude to just change their name. Yep. I go from these initials to those initials or whatever, and that's again, that sounds kind of bad, but it's the reality of it.
It's the reality, right? And so I think that's something Jacob and I really try to be as practical, like you were saying, with people, and communicate that. Yeah, I get it. It feels unfair, right? That this company right down the road isn't doing anything, but the benefits of, one, you're safe. Two, I mean, you're still being paid. You're hired by a reputable company. You don't have to be concerned, well, are they going to just become somebody tomorrow, or are they going to dissolve? And right, there's a security there that is, again, beneficial for the company and the employee long term. And so, if you're talking to people and they can understand that, they're like, yeah, okay, I get that. Might not mean I like to wear my harness.
It is not a level playing field. There are a lot of people that don't follow the rules and may never have to follow the rules. Yep. But I do think there is a certain appreciation now on the part of the owners or the general contractors, certainly, that a company understands and complies. Yep. Because it impacts them as well. It can impact owners. It can impact GCs. It can bring undue attention to a job. It can do a lot of things. And so I think those companies that have embraced it and understand this is just part of doing business, this is what we have to do, and it's the right thing to do, there is a long-term benefit to that. I
had a company out of Council Bluffs, larger company, HVAC, and their mod rating got out of control right, before they ever talked to us, right? I'm sure you get calls after things get bad,
right? It's always after. Not always, but unfortunately
a lot of times it's, right, the wheels are falling off. Doug, can you help me?
Yeah, we need some. Yeah, that's tough.
It's tough. And their mod rating got out of hand. And so, they're working with green planes and the Cargills and the Conagras. And they're winning the bid, but they're losing the job because their mod rating was too high to be on the premise.
No kidding.
And so you think about, again, is that rare? Well, not always that rare. If you're if you're a company getting onto some of these, bigger corporations' sites. And so it actually physically hurt their bottom line because they would lose a job because their mod rating would
Right.
disqualify them.
Yeah. So during that pre-qualification or that is
Yeah, we're using ISNet, Avetta, and all these,
Right.
and they're like, your score's a D because your mod rating is a 1.3. Like,
Right.
okay,
so you're out. We're not willing to take that risk.
We can't, take that
bring
risk.
you onto
we
the
cannot
site.
take that risk.
Yeah, that is really tough.
Yep.
And that is the reality too. And I see that a lot. I don't do construction work as much as I used to. As you guys know, man, it is hard to be good at everything.
100%.
And I would much rather be good at a few things and then farm out to people that are good at other things. Talk about what you guys do, what you enjoy doing, the kind of services your company offers, and then a little bit about what you see out when you're working. I mean, some of the deficiencies you're seeing, things like that. So just, we can...
Yeah. I mean, some of the services we provide, on-site job inspections, whether it's construction industry, like you've taught us a lot too, doing industry walkarounds. And, but yeah, on the construction side, job site inspections, on the site trainings, so OSHA mandated training.
You'll do the toolboxes.
We'll do toolboxes,
You'll do the
fall
mandate.
protections. We'll do the whole gamut of, and that's one of the things Shane and I have really tried to, as we've built this business, over the last 10 years is really tailor, right? So we have some companies that are smaller and they just need 4 hours a month. And okay, we'll do that. Other companies want us, on site for a day a week or, a little bit more regular than that.
Right.
So we do power equipment certifications, whether that's class 1 to class 7. Power
I don't know what any of that means, but thank you for doing
Small
that because you
forklift,
do that for my people, and I appreciate that.
A lot of CPR, first aid certifications, not our favorite thing to do, but a lot of our clients have asked for it in the past. They don't want to take the time to send their employees to a training center and have them, wasting time on the road. So we'll do that for our clients.
And so let's drill into that a little bit. Everybody needs it. The OSHA regulations that describe first aid CPR treatment are a little bit wishy-washy.
Yeah,
everybody needs it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you need to have people on site that are trained and that are designated, in my opinion.
Yep.
Why don't you like doing it? Does it not make you enough money for the time investment? Is it just a difficult thing to teach? Is it a combination of those things?
I'll take the first one. It's not the most glamorous class, right? It's video led. I mean, Nebraska Safety Council, American Heart Association, Red Cross has pretty much gone to all video led instruction. So how many times can you watch the same video for 3 hours, right? Press play. And it's a worthwhile skill to have, absolutely, not only just in the context of work, but outside of work with loved ones, with maybe an elderly parent.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of benefit. It's not it's not the most glamorous class to teach, but we like to do it again. Back to that, us tailoring our services to the companies that call us. We want to be, that company that somebody reaches out to. Hey, can you take care of us in this regard? And so we're starting to try to also set up some more larger training classes. So that's not a one or two guys here or there. It's just, hey, we're going to do a CPR first aid training at a local training center. Send your employees. We can try to partner a little bit better that way. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I just think I was actually at a training on Wednesday, and one of the guys shared with me. He's like, "Hey, I'd like to redo my CPR first aid certification." He's like, he had to use CPR on his mom.
Was that right?
So his mom didn't make it. She passed away. Yeah. But he said that I don't know what I'd be feeling right now if I didn't know what to do. If I stood there and watched her die, versus,
and had no idea,
feeling helpless,
he would have that would have put a burden on his mind of I didn't do anything.
Right.
He did what he needed to do. He stepped into action right away.
Good for him.
And so, obviously, the tragedy of his mom dying, but he doesn't have on his mind that he just stood there and didn't know what to do. You think about your kids, your family. I know we teach it in a workplace scenario, but man, it's more likely you're going to use it outside of work than anywhere.
That's the only time I've ever used it is outside of work.
And you don't want to be feeling helpless when it's someone you love or you care about, a friend. And so, yes, there are requirements within, you're working in a rural area, you don't have access to a medical center. There are some actual requirements from OSHA based on maybe a job site.
Access.
Access, yep. But I'd say it's just good for everybody. to
Everybody.
know that.
I totally agree, man. And thank you for saying that, because we talk a lot about, the skills that we teach you for the workplace also apply to your
100%.
life.
Yeah.
Almost everything that we talk about has application to your life. And most people walk out the door of the facility and then they don't apply any of those principles. They go home and they do things that are. I was jamming excuse my language, I was jamming a screwdriver into an outlet last night because it had those little safety, you couldn't, it had the little safety
the
things on it.
things, yeah.
Yeah, the pinchers that you
Yeah.
can't, I don't know if that's trying to keep children from accessing the circuit. I could not get, my wife had like something, I couldn't get the plug in. I was like, God damn. And I was like, taking a screwdriver, I was going to jam it in there, and I think,
Wait a second.
what are you doing, man? What are you?
Is this really worth it?
Take a breath.
Yeah.
Walk away for a second. I'm a little angry. I'd just been at work for 12 hours, come home to a home tragedy, whatever. This
I'll share one
issue.
too. I'll share one too, just because as safety guys, we got to laugh sometimes, right? It's right. My neighbors know what I do, and safety being part of my life. And I came home the other day, and my boys were jumping off our roof onto the trampoline.
Oh.
Right? I'm like, what are you doing? I mean, they didn't. So we moved the trampoline away from the roof.
Right.
They're jumping out of the tree onto the trampoline. So it didn't matter.
Right.
But you're like, the safety guys' kids are like jumping off their house,
Right,
and
right.
it's like,
I can remember we used to tie a rope from the peak of the house to a tree and ride over there on like handlebars that we'd ripped
Yeah.
off the Stingray,
Yep.
and like.
yeah, your own little zip line.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
Oh, that's hilarious.
it's
man.
funny. It is true. Like, we feel like there's work regulations, and then it's like, home is a free for all.
And then home.
But we've had lots of cases where one guy went out and bought a fire extinguisher. How simple is that? He went out and bought a fire extinguisher
For his home.
for his home.
Yeah, good.
Small step.
His house, he had a fire. He used it. And so, sometimes they come back and tell us, I bought a fire extinguisher and I had to use it. Mm-hmm. And if I didn't have that fire could have been really
Yeah.
bad. He had smoke damage. It damaged, one of their bedrooms. Mm-hmm. And I mean, if he would have had a cup of water, it could have lost his house. So there are stories, and I'm sure you've heard tons of people tell you, hey, I did this. I applied this in my own personal life.
And those
Something
are really
that you trained.
satisfying.
It is.
We don't get a lot of great feedback in our career,
No.
You just don't, the absence of something, somebody didn't get hurt, somebody didn't have an issue,
Hard to
whatever.
measure.
That's hard to measure that. So those kind of things, anecdotal stories like that are really satisfying to me. It makes me happy.
Yeah.
When I hear that stuff.
They make your training more powerful when you include them
They
in your
do.
trainings. I mean, you
They
talked
do.
about just being able to talk well or communicate. It's also being relatable, right? It's being able to bring in those personal life examples, whether it's using CPR on like again a mom or a situation like that, or what have you seen over the course of the last 10 years? And I don't know, we've gotten a lot of good feedback from folks that we've trained to saying, hey, yeah, we've learned something. We want to make a change because of this. And the personal stories are almost always more powerful
No doubt.
than something that happened at work. I mean, because people have lives outside of work and they care about that more than the
I
work
totally
they're
agree.
doing.
I would love to see, then maybe we'll do this in 2024. Chris Bryant and I have been talking a lot of, we've been talking about developing some type of a training center of sorts. Maybe it's a mobile maybe we're going from place to place, but I personally believe that every American should have to have first aid, CPR, AED, and then stop the bleed. That trauma response that, I got a buddy, Dustin, that teaches that. And I just think everybody should have those skills.
Yeah.
Everybody should, carry a small first aid kit with them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we can all carry an AED. You could carry a hammer, I suppose. Give them the mallet.
Yeah.
And you could carry a tourniquet, or you could carry some
Carry a
kind
fire
of
extinguisher.
carry a fire. I mean, I
small-
just
Yep.
we would be such a better community if everybody did that.
Yeah, I won't rail on our education system. But it's like, man, how practical would something like this be if you taught a high school class on these
Basic
basic
care.
skills, right? Like
Life safety skills.
life safety skills. I mean,
That's a
you're
great
more
idea.
likely to use that than some of the classes I took. I won't name the classes I took, but it's like
No.
there are some classes that I slept through, right?
Yeah,
It's
no
like,
doubt. Me too.
Never used them in my life, and these are really practical things that every American, you would hope, would understand how to respond in a situation.
No doubt. I totally agree, man.
Yeah.
I slept through my share of classes.
Yeah.
I've slept at least for a few minutes in every safety class I've ever taken. It's just kind of you sit down and stop moving, and it's just natural to try to relax a little bit, you know? And I mean, and that is a challenge to training, certainly construction people, manufacturing people as well. You sit them down in a classroom and you start lecturing to them. That's why this, you know, the relatability is so important.
Yep.
If you can communicate something to them that they relate to or they see value in, totally different. If you're just regurgitating regulations and stuff, they're gone, man.
They're out fast.
They're out.
Yep.
And I don't blame them. I'm out too.
Yeah, I was teaching a CPR class just yesterday, and it was just, you know, we're starting at 6:45 in the morning, and it's like I'm looking at 30 guys that, you know, I don't think they really want to be there. Their boss told them they got to be there, and it's like, hey, you guys got to stand up. You got to move around, you know, like making it as engaging as possible, you know, and just like you said, being relatable, having an instructor that's like, yeah, I understand this is not your normal day-to-day world to sit for 4 hours at a desk and learn. Stand up, be comfortable, and actually take something from the training. And being an instructor that knows how to do that, I think, is also a valuable skill.
Just tell me one person that you would be willing to do first aid or CPR on. Is there someone in your life, if they needed it, that you would be willing to do this for? There's got to be someone in everybody's life that they would
100%.
want to have that skill available to them for.
Yep. And we try to incorporate, which I know you and, you know, a lot of safety trainers try to incorporate those stories. And I try to, you know, not using company names ever, but just giving real life examples. Because, I mean, weekly we're getting, you know, OSHA was at one of my clients on Wednesday, right? And so real life examples that, you know, here's what we're dealing with, guys, that relates to you, you know, family members, and trying to make it personal so that there is okay, here's why I should actually maybe listen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the why is an important piece, I think, that gets overlooked.
Yep.
You know, the old, you know, I guess I told you so was my father's approach, but that doesn't really play well with the workforce, the modern workforce.
No, things
have
have
changed.
changed.
They need to understand the whys behind why we do these things. So you guys do a site work. You're doing a lot of training. You do first aid CPR. You do the equipment training. You help my clients with that, which is really valuable. I couldn't. If life depended on me getting in a forklift and moving something, life would end. How do you learn this stuff? Did you guys go through training enough to learn this stuff, or did you operate the equipment yourself? Or
Yeah, both. Right. So we were talking earlier. There's an education piece and there's a practical hands-on. And I think anything that we try to engage in, we're trying to do the same. If we're going to teach somebody, we don't want it to be like this theoretical, you know, here's how you do it. I couldn't do it, but here's how you do it. You know,
which is why I've stopped doing it.
And so we want to make sure that when we're doing it, are we operating a forklift every day? I'm not operating a forklift every day. I can drive
but you've done
any
it.
classes of forklift or mobile elevated work platforms, right? The scissor lifts, the man lifts. And so if we're going to teach somebody to utilize it, we're going to pair up the educational piece, train the trainer or some type of certification to be able to train people from an education piece, and the practical. We're going to operate the equipment. We're going to know how it works so that we can give both aspects of it. Now, every piece of equipment might be a little bit different, like a toggle versus a joystick versus that's different, each piece of equipment. We can't know every piece of equipment, but we can know that class.
The principles of those.
The principles. Yep. So we're going to always pair that up. And we encourage our people, right? They might sit through this training and we might be able to certify them, and they're doing some hands-on, we're evaluating them, they're doing coursework. But we're going to always encourage them on the job site, right? Nothing.
Yeah, with an experienced operator.
With an experienced operator, nothing's better than time on that equipment, and just making sure you're getting that time on the equipment. In easier situations, right? Don't throw the new guy into the hardest situation, right?
Right.
Give them that time on the machine. So we're always pairing up, whether it's first aid, CPR. I mean, I guess I can't say we're going out looking for opportunities to have real life examples of that, but everything we're doing is trying to be the education piece and the hands-on. It's got to be both.
It's got to be both.
And we found a lot of success doing that hands-on on the job site. Sometimes we might do it at a shop, right? But just like, operating a forklift or a telehandler in a parking lot is one thing, right? Like, go move this pallet, lift it. It's like, but any opportunity we have to do the actual hands-on on a job site in a real life, like make a real life scenario to make it as practically learning for that operator, is important. We've also seen a lot of times that you get an operator, I've driven a forklift for 25 years, and they don't look to us that we can teach them anything. And it's like, that's all right. Like, we still want to like go through those, like Shane's saying, those necessary steps. There is some education pieces that you might have missed. There might be some new developments to the standard or the manual that they have to understand. And just taking even an experienced operator through both that education piece, that hands-on demonstration, listening to what they're saying. Maybe sometimes you get a guy that says, screw off. You're not going to teach me anything, and that comes with the business. But
no, it does. And but they might also be able to contribute something.
Yep.
In your experience, you've been operating for 25 years. I mean, what are the pitfalls here at this plant that I'm not going to be able to see just walking through?
That's a perfect point. So even this course we're doing on rigging, we got guys I've been doing this 25 years, right? And so we'll tap into we'll help deploy them in a sense of like, well, then you help. Like,
yeah, man.
Use your experience and let's talk about those.
Share something.
Share something.
Yeah.
Hey, do you have any stories? Tell a story. Like, engage them. So if they are truly experienced, why wouldn't you tap into that?
Definitely.
Right? Especially if they've been with that company for a long time, they've been doing it correctly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Utilize that, or usually they got stories of,
No doubt.
this one time something happened.
Right. And those are things that we don't want these other newbies to have to experience.
Yep.
Maybe you can share out, those
Exactly.
so we can avoid that.
Yeah, that's been a good way to engage
That's
some
useful.
of those guys who are like, I've done this.
Have you
Forever.
had like training disasters? Like, as every trainer has, I've had so many disasters over the years that I couldn't even. But Chris and I were doing a 30-hour a couple weeks ago. Chris is there. He's the authorized trainer, so he's there for the entire 4 days. And I come in and do a day here or there, whatever, do some topics that he's not interested in. The crappy ones he gives to me,
There you
typically,
go. He's got it figured out.
And so when I started, I just asked the group, hey, we're talking about hazard recognition. That's what this class is. So just tell me what a hazard is. And one of the guys in the back said, sitting in this class for 30 hours.
Jeez.
And I'm like, normally I would say, fuck you. But hey, I'm a professional.
There you go.
So as everybody knows. So I'm gonna let that pass. But I have to be honest with you, it affected me. It took me off my game a little bit.
Yeah.
Because normally most students, if they're not interested, they're at least gracious. They're at least not, hospitable.
Yeah.
Cordial part of it.
Cordial, yeah. I mean, I get it. I've had to go to training that I wasn't interested in, so I'll just keep my mouth shut and just do my thing here.
Yep.
But it kind of put me off, And so we started this little back and forth, and I was like, no, please don't do this. Don't do this,
Hour 2 of the training, you're going to be a long 30-hour there.
Yeah, this is gonna be a long day if I allow this guy to drag. I don't think I shouldn't say that, but I'm not sure everyone understands how difficult training is. Yeah. How difficult it can be. Particularly 30. If you got a group of people for 30 hours, you're gonna get very intimate. You're gonna really know these people at the end of. Day one is kind of that combination of imposter syndrome and them trying to get it. By day 4, these are people that you're actually pretty close with.
Yeah.
I mean, you develop relationships with them. It's an interesting dynamic. But I've had a few disastrous training sessions, man.
Yeah, it seems to be more the people that can affect you. I'd say some of the things that, as a trainer, that might affect me is when the attitude of somebody, but particularly when they're like, when we're training a topic, how to do something correctly, and they just keep saying, well, my employer, they don't do that. They won't do that. That's not what we do. That's not how we do it. And trying to help be like, okay, well, let's start something new. Like, let's do it the right way. Like, let's change things, And so trying to implement change when you kind of have somebody who's just
The resistant.
Because it's like, man, we get it. You might have to be here. Maybe it's not the class you want to be a part of, but
let's make the best of this.
Let's make the best of it,
and,
right? Like,
if you just take one thing away from this class, I'll be really happy.
Yep.
You learn one thing here.
Yeah.
You don't have to learn 30 hours worth of material in 30 hours.
Talking about people just being cordial, I thought this was interesting. Last month, You know, we do respirator fit testing for people.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we do fit testing.
Nice.
And I've fit tested this body shop every year. And one of the guys came in, we were doing fit testing, and afterwards he goes, you know, last time we did this, I could taste the product. And I told you I couldn't. I was like, okay. Like, I'm not going to be naive. Do you think you're the first person who's ever lied? Like, I can't, right? That's part of the process. Like, you have to tell me.
Right.
And he goes, well, I'm not telling you that to, like, be a jerk. I'm telling you because I could taste it. But then it kept sticking in my mind. I'm breathing in this stuff all day. And he's like, I made a change. I went and got a different mask. I started to shave. And he's like, so even though I lied, it affected me and I changed. And he's like, I could not smell it. I could not taste it this time.
Oh, that's great, man.
And so even though he was just cordially there, I'm going to choose to believe that some of these things that I'm saying are residing in their mind. Sometimes I think about my own 4 kids. I'm like, did you hear a single thing I said?
There you go.
And sometimes they can tell me what I said, and I'm like, didn't think you were even paying attention. You know, so I'm going to just try to naturally think that whether they're just like, oh my goodness, that something is sticking. In those examples, when that guy shared it, at first I was like, where are you going with this? But then afterwards, I'm like, man, I'm very thankful you shared that because I can't control whether you're going to lie, but I'm glad you made a change. It affected you and it made a change for the better.
I think it's difficult for people sometimes to admit that they didn't know something or admit that you were right.
That is so true.
And so they'll take the information, maybe they'll keep it to themselves, and maybe we don't see the immediate impact of that.
Yeah, that's a
But
good
if
point.
it does change their approach or their attitude downstream, it's worth it.
It is.
And I get a lot of people that they don't want to think that I know anything about what they do, and I probably don't. You know, maybe I've seen the work done, but very few things that I'm actually capable of doing. But you know, by the end of that 4th day, man, you know, if you're with somebody for 4 days, that first day, they'll come to you. I will say, you know, Chris and I typically ask at the end of the day, just give us some feedback. You know, did you hear anything today that you were unfamiliar with, or what had the most impact on you? And they'll start to share that with you, you know, once they're more comfortable
they'll
with
open
you.
up a
And
little
then,
bit more.
and man, that feels good. That feels good. But you know, I'm sure it's hard for them sometimes to admit that.
It's both ways, right? So especially as an experienced employee, admitting you didn't know something, it's probably hard for them. But I would say this, as a trainer, getting feedback, like you were just saying, maybe you're not asking for feedback because you're afraid of what might come back.
You don't want the feedback.
And we got to grow just like anybody else. We have to be willing to, you know, change our ways and our methods if it's not effective, to be able to engage and bring people in and make it worthwhile. So feedback's important. And sometimes it probably can be difficult to hear. And some things you can't change. You know, I think safety trainings are boring. There's only so much excitement you can bring to a safety training, right? Like, we get it. Okay.
Important.
I don't take that very
and
personally.
Possibly boring. And like, as you said, some of them are mandated. I have to cover this material. You know, I have to show this video. I have to spend this much time on this topic, whatever that is. You know, it is difficult, man.
I was teaching. This is back to CPR, but I share personal stories, and you know, all throughout that training, one of the sections you talk about calling the poison control, and so I share this great example of my daughter. You know, when she was 18 months old, I came home one day, and my wife, Jake, you know, she gives me my daughter. She's like, Ezra, she just unplugged the Glade plug-in, those old school Glade plug-ins with the glass, and she unplugged it and she drank the fluid that was in there. And I was like, oh my God, we call poison control. And, you know, we get the whole talk through from poison control, and she was fine. You know, she sped up a little bit. So I share that story usually when I'm teaching CPR. This is like 2 months ago I was teaching, and there were some office staff in there and some moms as well. And one of them, after I shared that story, she came up to me and she was like, that was truly horrible to hear. And I was like, the rest, you talk about horror stories or taking feedback. And I'm like, but I think it's a good story because when you call a service like that, you know, they are very calming. They kind of walk someone that's my worst phone call is doing that. And But when she said that to me, I was like you, like I was a little bit freaked out. Like, this is gonna suck if these people are sitting in the front row, and now I'm second guessing all the stories I gotta share, and taking that feedback exchange. Like, should I share that story going forward? I'm like, I think it's a worthwhile story to share.
Absolutely.
And so, and just you got to really read your room. Like you're talking, getting feedback, and that's important.
But the feedback, I was not a person. I have only become a little bit more confident in myself over the last 10 years. I was a person with very low self-confidence for many, many years, and I didn't want the feedback.
Yeah.
We would hand out these forms. I was a teaching assistant in graduate school, and we'd have to hand out these forms, and then I'd collect them. Yeah. The system wasn't ideal, and then I would go through them and pull out the negative ones and throw them away, and then turn the good ones in, to my boss or my professor or whatever, because I was afraid of the feedback. And only in the last few years have I started really accepting the feedback and trying to make changes to. But it took me a long time.
Did something happen that kind of pushed you to?
I reached I don't want to give a fuck point.
Sure.
I think I'm willing to admit that, man, I don't know everything. I have seen other trainers that are better than me, and I've said, wow, I aspire to be a better trainer. Do you want to be a better trainer or not? Because I've been covering the same material for 35 years, but I would like to be a better trainer, and I finally just admitted that and embraced it. And this group that Chris and I are training right now, the person from the company was the one that was creating the questions, and he would actually, at the end of each day, he would get the group and he would tell them, I want you to he would hand out pens and little sheets of paper. I want you to comment on this. Tell me, for example, one of them was, what should the company keep doing that we're doing well? What should the company stop doing that we're not doing well? And what should we start doing that we aren't doing? And man, the feedback, and we would sit down every night after, and we might have 30, 35 people in this, and we would go through each one and discuss them. We took the feedback seriously, and then the next day we would make changes. We asked them the first day, the first evening after the first class, what was good about just the training itself, the physical logistics of the training. The tables suck, the seats are uncomfortable, the food was horrible, whatever. Couldn't hear you. And we came back the next day and changed it. I'd never seen anything like that.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
And it was really powerful.
When you're doing your 30s, are you guys using any amplification for voice? Are you guys just
I don't typically, and Chris doesn't really. But I don't like the room to be so deep that they're, I would prefer, I know people don't love that. You come in first and you go right to the back. That's what I've always done. I like to be able to lean my head against the back wall. So we've encouraged them to come up front. We try to make the room set. I don't know that people appreciate the significance of the room setup, the tables and chairs. I mean, as you guys have, I've been to, where you do the training and you're in the warehouse and the guys are sitting on buckets around the outside of the warehouse. You might as well not even do that. And I don't think the owners necessarily appreciate the importance of those
that
basic
classroom
things.
environment.
The environment
is huge. My first OSHA 10 class I taught, it was my first time. I'd gotten certified. I was, pumped to do it. And there's a compressor in the back of the shop, and it kicked on every 45 minutes. And I got a loud voice, and I can speak really loud, but and you could hear it, start to kick on, and and we couldn't shut it off. Every 45 minutes for day and a half, it just kept kicking on. So,
I know, man. And they don't appreciate the impact that has. And likewise, if you have this is important to me as a company owner. And so we've got this training room at the local hotel, and they bring coffee and donuts in the morning.
It matters.
And they bring in reasonable food. We bring in decent food. It doesn't have to be, catered, but, decent food. And the end result is so much better.
One of the questions we asked at the start is what are we seeing kind of out there, in the field now? And I mean, I think we personally have seen a lot more, especially on the construction side, general contractors they want to see something, and then ownership being a little bit more involved in, and wanting to, make a, it's like, Jacob, take as much time as you need. Shane,
Yep.
we want to make sure it's thorough, and maybe even 9 years ago, 10 years ago, we weren't seeing that much buy-in, and so maybe there's a tide turning from like an ownership GC perspective.
I hope that's true. That's great.
Yeah.
That's good news.
Yeah, I got one client I'll go to, and the manager always walks out. He sees me walk in. He's actually a really good guy. I enjoy him a lot, but he says a few things that he's like, "How quick can you make it?"
I know. I know.
And it's you feel that pressure, but I don't change anything.
Yeah.
He knows how long it's gonna be.
Right. Right. Good for you.
It's interesting because he'll say that, but he really does enforce safety and really does care about the people. They're just really busy and so I get it. The safety guy coming in sometimes is like, oh, we're bringing it down. And you're talking about services, and that's one thing we like to do. So sometimes it's better to get people off of a site and into a training center around here.
No doubt.
Right? And sometimes it's better to be at their shop or at their location. It depends on the training, how long it is, what the topic is, if you need the equipment.
Yeah, definitely.
All kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's where Jacob was talking earlier is like, we want to customize for everybody what is best. And so we can 1 month do a topic and a training on site. And then maybe if it is, hey, we need to get off site and we need to do something here in a classroom or on an actual job site, not at the shop. And we can customize that to however it best serves the company. So not just the big box where it's you show up here every time and
cookie cutter type of trainings.
And so we want to be able to offer that. We have a couple clients who get on big job sites and hey, Shane, we need somebody, or hey, Jake, we need somebody here 40 hours all month, all week, all month. And we partner with people and we can get guys on the site. And so we got a guy on.
You got some guys doing that now.
Yeah, and being able to just work with them on what they need instead of. And some companies are big enough. I mean, we got a company we work with that's 1,400 people. They got safety guys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But sometimes the safety guys don't have the capacity to do everything that's needed, and
it's like or the expertise. They're just safety guys too, right?
So hey, can you come in and do this topic or this training? Or we're kind of stretched thin. This one job site is really demanding. We could use some help over here, just some capacity.
Just to complement their safety guys.
Yeah.
I mean, boots on the ground or just being that resource for a phone call, a text message. Hey, could you show up tomorrow at 6:30 in the morning? Like, if I got nothing going on,
here we go.
We'll be
again,
there.
you get a little bit of, if you are the on-site safety person all the time, you get a little fatigue from that, right?
Yeah.
It's just background noise after a while. So bringing someone in to complement that, I love the description, is really useful. And I appreciate the willingness to listen and develop the training or the services. I'm not sure every client that I've ever worked with really knows what they need.
Yeah.
They know they need something.
Yep.
And maybe they've had an OSHA experience, or maybe they've had an injury or whatever. Maybe their mod is elevated, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And they just want peace of mind.
Yeah.
Right? I need somebody that I trust who is going to help me get where I need to go.
Yep.
And so going in and listening and helping them develop a strategy is so important, because so much of it is just cookie cutter shit.
Yeah.
Yep.
When we started out, we
there.
would talk to those national outfits, and it just, again, I don't want to disparage anyone, but it's like sometimes they almost cram stuff down your throat, like and they, like you said, they're not listening to the needs of the client. Not every client is the same. Whether it's small to mid-size, their budgets are going to be different.
Yep.
They can only, hey, we want to do it all, but dollars are stretched. We can only do so much this year. Shane and I want to take that feedback. Be like, all right, this is the need of the hour.
Here's how I prioritize your needs.
You got to do this, and we always say it's like turning that Titanic. If you're going into a company that's or turning a big ship, Titanic's probably a bad example.
It's a hard one to turn now,
but just turning it incrementally year after year, and we've seen a lot of success with our clients in terms of just year in, year out, really trying to promote that safety culture.
I mean, love that.
It's not it maybe sound counterintuitive to us being trainers, but one of our customers needed online training, right? And I've heard you talk about it where, if you want training, get somebody in person. If you need information, take an online class.
If you need an OSHA card,
Yeah, right. And
Take it online.
But so we've developed an online platform where our customers sometimes just need something really. I got one guy who needs this training. Do I need to bring you out to
It's not
train
conducive
one
to
guy?
bring one guy.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we have an online platform where people can utilize 150 courses, English and Spanish, and they can just if they need
love
that.
that.
And again,
Is that on your website, or how would they find that?
that's a different platform called Abide Safety.
Okay.
So we just partner it with any of our customers who, hey, this is going to be fitting, because we obviously are promoting in person, and I think that is the most engaging.
Well, it's certainly more
that.
effective.
It's
Yeah.
certainly
Much more effective.
Is
Yeah.
there ever a place for online? There is, right? I don't like taking online classes.
No, absolutely not.
But is there a time and a place for it? For sure.
Yeah.
And so we've developed that just as a compliment, because some of these bigger customers, hey, you just did this class and I hired a guy the next day, and I just need to get him through HASCOM, and I need to get him through Bloodborne, and I need to get him through, I just need him, get him
We just got awarded a job, and work's starting next week.
Yep.
Right.
And we need.
I need him to sign off on these. And
Yes.
so that was in response to a customer saying, hey, we have a need. Could you help us figure out how to meet this need? And Jacob and I think are willing to pioneer a lot. And
Yeah.
so it's like, yeah, let's give it a try. Here we go.
Right. That's I love that. And, that's, I don't know, again, people probably appreciate this, but it is not economically feasible to do an OSHA 30 for 3 people.
Yeah.
No.
Right? OSHA says the minimum is 3, as I recall.
I don't want to do a 3-person 30-hour.
But you can't do it, and it's a terrible class to begin
my
with.
goodness, yeah.
They just sit there and stare at you. So the online classes, I do fill that onesie twosie need.
Exactly. They have a
I
time and
need
place.
somebody to get onto this site. They have to have this. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But if you have 20 people,
No, in person. In person.
That quality for attention is going to be
absolutely,
obviously
because
way
they
higher.
will get so much more out of it.
Even just the dialogue, we know having somebody be able to ask that, well, what about on this job site? Here's what we see a lot of. What about this? They'll take away from that, I learned something. You're not going to type into a chat where no one's going to respond, online, where it's just you're going through the class. So the dialogue is huge. And I think that you
Here's the
engage your
biggest part of
people,
it. Yeah.
they can get their actual questions answered. They'll walk away saying, that was useful because I know now how to operate on this site, how to go forward and have a solution.
I think that's interesting. The open enrollment style class, where you might have 1 or 2 guys from different companies all attending the same 10 or 30. Typically, we have done them for a company.
Yep.
The company wants a 30, and they've got 12 people. Okay, we do that.
Yep.
There's always a minimum because it's just not feasible to do one below a certain minimum.
Exactly.
I hope that doesn't offend anybody, but that's just the reality of training. But if you bring in an open enrollment, and I have 3 people from this company and 2 from this one and 4 from that one. And once you get them engaged, the conversations are so good because they are bringing experience and information and things that the other guys might not get in their work environment. Those are so useful, and they are so challenging to do as a trainer. Putting that on, juggling all of that, getting all those people enrolled, making sure their butt's in the seat when the class starts and they're not all backing out at the last minute.
Come back
It's
from
a
lunch.
huge risk for a trainer, but those classes are so good.
And that was our goal here, right? We reach out to you and say, hey, we got this 30-hour going on. Like, let's bring in, if people have 1s and 2s and 3s or 5 or whatever, bring them in. And that class is really, really rich when you share those experiences.
Yes.
And you can't control this, but when those attendees actually participate and share stories, and oh my goodness, you got 30 hours, right? It makes that 30 hours way better. When those
These guys are maybe even establishing relationships at that point too, between different companies and different
we got a couple.
trades
We got
and
a couple in the
crafts and
class
stuff.
who will be GC and sub, right? They're gonna work together. So they already know each other somewhat.
Yeah. Well, I just sent that announcement out to about 45 of my clients a couple days ago, I think.
Yeah.
Did I copy you guys on that?
Yes.
I think I blew that out. So I hope they take advantage of it because it's the onesies and twosies that just get left behind. I've got 2 guys. When are you doing a class?
I know. Yep.
I can't set up a class for 2 people and then go out and find another 18 or 20 to
fill
make it
it.
worthwhile.
Yeah.
That's really tough. So I give you guys credit for that. I hope it works out great. They
I'm excited for it.
Your email addresses are going to be in the liner notes that go out with the show.
Great.
They can reach out to you January 8th through the 11th
Yep.
in Lincoln. 30-hour OSHA construction outreach class. Take advantage of it. You got guys that are, they're going to be a little bit slow in January.
Yeah.
I'm sure the weather's going to be shitty, so it'll be perfect.
Get your shutdown week. Get your
It's a
training.
perfect time to get all that training accomplished.
Sub-zero weather.
Otherwise, they can find you guys at Safety Compliance.
Yep. Safety Compliance LLC. Just Google it. We'll
Google
come
it.
up.
They
Yep.
can find you.
Yep.
I can find them. I have access to them too. So
Yeah.
if you're looking for help,
We'd love to help.
Yeah.
there's no reason you can't get the help you
Yeah.
need.
I got a question for you, Doug. I know you
man.
usually ask the questions.
No, that's okay.
What do you see coming in the safety industry? Do you see any big changes? You feel like anything's on the precipice of change when it comes to safety in the future? Like, right, we got a long time yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys got
What
a
do-
long time.
what do
I'm
you
almost
think-
done, man. What I do
What do you
see is
think
somebody
coming?
like taking over for me.
Okay,
if
all
you
right.
guys are
All right. We might know a couple guys.
thick skinned, if you can tolerate that kind of insanity. But I do think there's a lot of technology that has found its way into the profession, certainly as practitioners, that kind of escapes me, frankly. I'm not going to learn too much new. When I don't do a lot of continuing education. When I had certifications, you had to do the continuing. You had to go to some shitty conference every year and drop a bunch of money for it. And so now, if I just have, if a client has a need, I just do research for that specific need.
Yep.
But I'm not a techie guy. I think there are a lot of innovations in technology that make safety better. I think the safety management apps and things, the learning management systems that you've just described, I think we're moving in that direction. But I don't think you will ever get away from that interpersonal.
I hope
this
not.
is a
Onsite.
personal business.
Yep.
You can do all of that techie stuff and miss the boat because you have to be able to have people that can interact with other people, that are naturally curious, that are, good communicators. That's what makes safety work. It's a relationship business.
Yep.
It's a relationship. So that's not going to go away.
Yeah, you can't replace that. I
You
mean, just
cannot
walking
replace
up, talking
that.
to a sub, and just being able to relate to a foreman in
Just,
30 seconds, and just being like,
what is it you need? How can I help you? I mean, that's never going to go away. So a lot of the technology is interesting and useful, and it escapes me.
It plays a role.
It has a role. It's
has
a
a role.
small piece in the puzzle,
a
but
small
it will
piece.
never replace.
100%.
AI will never replace what we do. I don't think.
No.
Chat GPT can't. What can I do for you? That was a horrible
Write
funny
me a-
way to end
write
this.
me a
I'm sorry,
program.
man. Right? Yeah, maybe it could write you a program.
yeah, it could help. I mean,
Yeah,
it's gonna be able
maybe,
to-
and that's fine. Put it in the binder on the shelf like all the other shit.
Yeah.
But getting out into the field, onto the floor, interacting with the employees, truly finding out what scares them and what they need. So I don't think that's going to change, man.
Good.
I think, good. I don't think it should change. But other than that, I do love this. I'm just not the guy that's going to do it. I am not a huge risk taker. I've always been take the safe. But I do think this cooperative, we've got everything that you could possibly need at our disposal in this group. I think that is the way that safety should be done. When I worked for Terracon, and Terracon is a great company, I still have great friends there, but I was responsible for environmental health and safety.
I don't know how you did it all.
Yeah,
I didn't. I did it poorly. I'll be honest with you, man. I was writing air permits, air emission inventories, doing industrial hygiene work, doing OSHA compliance work. It was not good. You
Scratching the
need
surface,
a
probably.
network.
Yeah.
This network of people.
If you could have utilized some of the resources you have now,
Exactly.
and it'd have been better for the company.
Much better for the client. Much better for the client. So I think, we take this network of people that you guys have got a network, I've got a network. Yep. We've got this huge, really skilled group of people in this area that can fill just about every need that any client could possibly have. And I think, that, again, just gives the client peace of mind. That's all they want.
Yep.
Am I doing the right thing? Am I going to get in trouble? I mean, what am I missing? That's what we do.
Yep.
You know?
And even for the customers that we help, again, OSHA was at one of the customers on Wednesday, and they could call me, right? And just being that resource where I can help.
Yeah.
Give them that kind of ease of mind, that comfort that they have a resource available.
We'll go to those informals with them. We'll be, we'll be in the room with them.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like, they get asked the question. It's like, Shane,
they're
can you
pretty,
answer?
they're
It's
pretty
like,
worried. Like, am I going to say the wrong thing?
Right.
They probably have the right answer, but they're just pretty nervous.
Yeah.
It's a very anxious situation. I totally get it.
Yep.
And so that peace of mind that somebody's got my back.
Yep.
I'm not just hanging out here to dry.
A lot of companies, hey, we got 9 guys. I'm not going to hire a full-time safety guy.
No.
But I'd like a safety resource to really help.
Absolutely.
And that's
I love
where
it.
we play a lot of.
That's what we do, man.
Yep.
Shane Unger, Jacob Whitney.
Yes, sir.
The company is Safety Compliance.
Yep.
Fantastic services, man. I appreciate what you do for me and my clients.
Yeah, it's been a great beneficial.
Yeah,
mutual
2024 is going to be a better year. So if you are looking for help, go find these guys. Call me, whatever you need. We'll take care of that.
Yeah.
Look into the class in January 8th through 11th. Send your people there, right? They can hold up to 40, I think, is the
40 is the
limit.
max.
So let's get 40 people in the classroom. That would be ideal. And we hope to see you in 2024. Otherwise, guys, I will see you beforehand, but we'll just say happy holidays.
Yeah.
4
Thanks,
kids,
man.
4
Yeah,
kids.
Yes, sir.
Oh, man, you guys got a lot of work
You guys
left
can donate
to do.
some presents if you want.
Yeah. Christmas is wild.
You want to adopt a family right there for you.
There
man.
you go.
All right, guys, thank you for coming in this morning.
Thanks,
Have a
Doug.
great weekend.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. Get in touch with the guys or let me know if there's something we can do for you, and I will talk to you next Friday. Take care. Bye-bye.